Hi there. I know recently I've been harping on about the flexibility you'll find with Dutching with a view to trading out in running. I've talked about over the months a number of different selection processes you can use uh, with a view to doing just that. And here's another one. Um, this is a variation on a theme. I've shown you in the past the idea of looking at the Napchecker picks and doing a Dutch lay. And when I've done that in the past and let you see that, I've been concentrating on only selecting the top 2 or 3 picks within each event, i.e. the most popular picks amongst the tipsters. Make those up as part of the Dutch lay. Today I thought I'd extend that and look at the results if you were to Dutch lay every single pick in each race. And there on the right hand side in the market watch list, you can see the results so far as we approach the 640 at Tipperary. It's been quite an interesting result. There's one caveat I think I would suggest, and that would be in the cases where there are so many picks by the Napchecker tipsters that the number of picks is approaching or greater than, let's say, 50% of the number of runners in the race, I would tend to shy away from that one, just intuitively more than anything else. It's a gut feel, if you like. There's a couple of races in particular. There's this one at Newmarket. You'll see there's 17 runners in there with 8 picks. So not quite 50%. But you'll see the vast majority of those picks are in the top half of the market. So just looking at that, I would tend to shy away from that, I think, or that would certainly be the indication of any filtering that you might want to do. Having said that, there's another race that was quite successful in that this race at Tipperary, there was 6 runners, 4 of them were actually tipped by the Napchecker tipsters, and one of those ones that wasn't tipped went on to win the race. This was one of those races where one of the selections shot out to 1,000, so the green up process wasn't able to kick in. But just leaving that rather than trying to trade out the individual runners, you see there that it was a good return. In actual fact, that return isn't as good as it could have been because I missed the jump and the Dutch wasn't submitted until 5 seconds or so into the race. So this is another race that, to be honest, if I was doing this for real, and again, as I say, gut feeling, I would tend to ignore it simply because of the number of selections compared to the field size. So those 2 races there were perhaps not suitable picks. So this one here is the only legitimate loss I've had all evening, if you like. And we're about to move on to this one at Tipperary, the 640. I've actually just missed a Chelmsford one. I was too busy setting up the video recording software to do this video, and I missed the start of that. So we're looking at a nice, healthy, tidy profit with all the races that we've had so far. So again, the selection process you've seen before, but there won't be any harm in going through it again. So we're at Tipperary. The selection process, if I pull up the Dutch lay dialogue. So we're looking at Timeless Peace, Secret Sauce, and Slaney Tide. So they'll be the 3 selections in this particular race coming up. And I'll submit the Dutch just before the off. Okay, they're just loading up and the scheduled off time has been reached. So we'll just submit that just now. And we'll see how this one goes. I'll come back to it once we're underway. Okay, off and running at Tipperary. Let's see how this one goes. Again, we're using a 25% green up of max liability, so £25 give or take. You've seen all this sort of thing before by now. But just to emphasize the point that I've been making over the past few weeks, if you're looking to Dutch with a view to trading out, all you're really looking for is a selection process that picks runners that are going to run in your way. They don't need to win, or in this case, they don't need to lose the race. All we want them to do is to move enough in odds, whatever direction you need, in order to green up. And there you see we've just greened up on this race for £26. I've been about halfway through, and so that's another successful one. But you can see here one of our selections is doing pretty well. And may well go on to win. But as I say, you just need something that's consistent and moves enough in whatever direction you need it to move in order to make Dutch trading in running successful. And there you can see one of the selections looks like having looked like it was going to win, has lost it fairly late on. That's fine, we're out of the market, all safe and secure. Okay, I'm going to carry on with the rest of this evening, and I'll come back perhaps for the last race and let you see that one in action as well. Cheers! I'm just jumping into the next race at Chelmsford, the 7 o'clock, and this is one of those races where you might want to ignore. You'll see there's loads of picks, 6 selections, 4 picks by the tipsters. So I'll record this as normal, but as I say, this may well be something that you might want to ignore given the ratio of tips to field size. You'll see the results later on. And one of the non-picks goes on to win. That's telling, isn't it? Good, so that's another successful greened up race. Again, I'll just move on to the rest of the races and I'll show you the last one when it comes along. Again, just jumping back in, it's something else that you might want to think about. You can see that this one has actually greened up, or it's been triggered anyway, but this one hasn't been hit yet. And so you're potentially looking at a much larger liability. So the question is, do you hang on or do you trade out when that happens? Now, I've been hanging on, green up hit or fired around about here, and by hanging on, it eventually traded out where it needed to trade out. So all well and good. But keep that in mind if you are doing Dutch laying. Okay, when you Dutch lay for a profit target of, in this case, £100, the individual liability on each horse that you've laid is greater than £100. So that's what happened there when it greened up, or when the green up was triggered. One of the horses had moved on odds and that corresponding back bet wasn't taken, and it was a while into the race or towards the end of the race before it drifted enough for that green up process to be fully matched. So just be aware of that. You might want to have a rule that you trade out manually if your green up process hasn't fully been matched. There, I've just switched to the very last race to see what that's like, and I've been presented with this. So needless to say, this race is not suitable for this particular selection method. So much for that plan, so we'll just give this one a miss. Let me get rid of that, and rid of that. And there's a number of things that's perhaps worthwhile mentioning to you. Let me first of all just switch to a different screen. Okay, if I go to the last race that I did look at, this is not something you want to get involved in for two reasons. Although it's traded out okay, first of all, notice that there's 3 picks, so that violates this suggestion, this 50% rule suggestion I made earlier on. But what I do want to flag up to you is the low price favourite, who is one of the picks. The trouble with that is you can see the size of the stakes being used in there. But what I'm particularly flagging up, I mean, obviously that stake there is the actual stake. That's not your liability on the opening Dutch lay. However, when this green up process was triggered on this runner, Dame Laura Knight was not matched. The closing bet was not fully matched. Which meant there was actually a large liability sitting on her. I think it was, it happened too quickly for me to actually record it, but it was in the order of £1,700, give or take. So it's obviously related to this. Now, whilst it greened up okay, that £1,700 has to be in your Betfair account for that green up process to work properly. If it wasn't, the whole process would fail and you could find yourself in serious trouble. You could potentially find yourself in serious trouble anyway whilst you've got that liability there. It wasn't until it drifted a bit that the green up was fully matched and we greened up across the board. So if you're using Dutch laying, be careful getting involved in any race where there's a very short price favourite. That would be the first thing. And also add that to the other suggestion I made of not getting involved in those races where the number of selections is approximately 50% of the field size or greater. And there's been a number of races. But whilst that one's going through, and that's an interesting result there, you can see that very short price favourite was beaten. And so we've wound up with a total of £339 in 21 markets. It's maybe worthwhile whilst I'm here, having a quick look through to see which selections actually won, given that we're laying. So if we just start off at the very first race there at Tipperary, you'll see that the winner, Amazon Lady, was not one of the picks. Similarly, Waipiro was not a pick. Charlie Luciano was. Mixed Jet wasn't. Another Bar wasn't. New Variant was. Magnus was. The Big Chap wasn't. Montlinus was. Burnsong wasn't. Lucky Zebo wasn't. Patricia's Wiz wasn't. Villanova Queen wasn't. Desert Heather was. Apprentice wasn't. Final Decision was. Haunted Dream wasn't. Theophilus wasn't. Tommy Time wasn't. Obviously Sahek was. And My Roxanne was. So generally speaking, you'll see that there's more failed lays than there is, more successful lays, I should say, than failed lays. So that may be something you want to have a look at. Obviously, it depends on the returns that you're going to get. But the important thing to remember is what we're doing here is trying to find situations where the odds are going to move in our favour, albeit temporarily. We don't care as long as we green up. Also, it's worthwhile having a look at the races that sort of violated that approximately 50% rule, so that'd be that one. So let me actually just remove those as I go. That one, not that one, nope. That one as well, although that was nice and profitable. Not that one. That one needs to go. So that's 4 picks there, so that would be the 50% one as well. So you can see just by doing this, we're actually removing some reds as well as some successful green ups. I think intuitively, I think it will tend to balance itself out. That would be my gut feel anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that one has to go. Nope. Okay, there. This one is, it doesn't quite make the 50%, but given that it's more or less, you know, it's 8 out of 17. I'd be tempted to remove that one as well. We'll leave it in, just for the sake of completeness. That's another one that looks like it has to go. 11 runners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, that one would need to go. Okay, after doing that filtering, and arguably you could take that one out as well. You know, you're looking at a nice return there. I'm in two minds about that 50% rule. I'd need to do it a heck of a lot more times. But the point of this video, of course, is simply to let you see yet another variation on a theme. All you're trying to do is find runners that aren't necessarily going to win or aren't necessarily going to lose if you're laying. All you want them to do is move enough in running, either a really good one individually or move in the same direction combined, to be able to hit your green out point. Lots of variations on a theme I've shown you over the months, and I'm sure there's others that you can come up with yourself. You just need to sit down and do some testing. Okay guys, I shall finish it all off there, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.